Come to the light, family. Come to the light. My general said, he said, come to the light. Come on now. All right, family. Peace, greetings. Welcome to another edition of Baba TV Every Time Fire. And I just had this brother on the other day dropping some heavy knowledge on us, 6 hours. I had to do a 2-part. And on the second part, he dealt with a herb called Sweet Wormwood. I had never heard of it. Still haven't done really no research on it. But evidently this brother has. Now, we can remember back in the early 90s, it's no surprise to us that when the AIDS epidemic came out, Dr. Alim Muhammad of the Nation of Islam went over to Africa and to Kenya, I believe it was, and the doctor's name was Dr. Koech. I think it was Dr. David Koech, and he had the cure for the AIDS virus. This was way back in the 90s, and Dr. Ali Muhammad tried to go over there, and they stopped him at the airport and didn't allow him to bring it over. So we know that the motherland and our people and their knowledge and wisdom and understanding of botany and being able to use plants to heal our people is absolutely phenomenal. And I think it's Madagascar, that part of Africa, that the Bambu King sent me the news clipping that they are now saying that they have an antidote for this virus. And I don't know, I'll let the Bambu King go in. I don't know if one of the ingredients is the sweet wormwood or what. I'm not qualified to deal with that, but we have somebody on here who is. So with that being said, family, it's my absolute pleasure to present back on Baba TV always, my brother, the Bambu King. Go ahead, brother. Take it away.
Hotepu, brother Baba. Give thanks. Enough respect to you and the Baba TV universe out there, the big family abroad. We know this is short notice to let people know to try to tune in with this. We've also been putting a lot of content, on Baba TV recently. So we hope that this specific subject doesn't get lost in the shuffle. But it's on the tails of something we just put together, which was dealing with preemptive strike, which, yes, turned into a 2-parter, 6-hour presentation, a preemptive strike, how to build and make resilient your immune system so that when you come into contact with pathogens, whether they be bacterial or fungal or viral or free radical damage or cancerous or radiation toxicity or heavy metal toxicity, whatever it is, there's an abundance. There's a whole world of healing out here that is geared, not only is your physical body geared to engage in the healing process, but the planet in which we are born on, grow from, are put together with the elements of is specifically designed to engage us in our own healing. But we have to look to the earth. We can't always look to concoctions put together in laboratories, good, bad, or otherwise, oftentimes have negative reactions within the body. And as we spoke about previously, side benefits are what we are looking for to come from our medicine. And before we get into this, I do want to say I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nutritional counselor. I'm not a dietitian. I'm not a life coach. I'm not a past life regression therapist. I'm none of these things. I'm just a DJ. I'm just a musician. And I'm just someone who's very enthusiastic about my own health and about people in general taking responsibility and accountability for governing their own health and doing what they can with researching and learning what they can do for their own health. So that being the case, we're going to get right into it. And we're dealing with, and this isn't going to go on very long. This is going to be a short thing. We're going to try to keep it short, precise, condensed, and to the point, because this is what we need to share with you today, because fear is the killer. Fear is the fuel that feeds every single disease in the body. Fear is the main cause of stress, and stress is directly correlated with all manner of physical degeneration, physical dysbiosis of the body, and it is the one thing that each and every disease has in common. It's the onset due to stress, or the further complications due to stress, and the inability to engage in the healing process because of fear and stress. So they have done a very good job at getting us so afraid of the potential of a disease that there is no cure for, that is highly contagious, that is knocking people off left and right. And they want us to believe that the only thing we can depend on to fix us, or to repair us, or to prevent us from getting sick is whatever vaccines or remedial methods they're working on in their laboratories. But I do want to share with you something that they know, because the thing that comes up every time you deal with natural health, every time you deal with herbs and supplements and vitamins and minerals being what you need to utilize in order to maintain a healthy structure, not medicine. You're not born with an aspirin deficiency. You're not born with an oxycodone deficiency. You're not born with a statin drug deficiency. No, we're made up of 92 essential nutrients. That's what we need to build a strong, resilient terrain in this highly aggressive environment that we are a part of. So in order to get into that, the last thing we dealt with, and if you want further analysis, if you want further detail into how to build the resiliency of your immune system, the vitamins and the minerals and the trace elements and the antimicrobials to go to if you feel that you're getting sick, the things that stop the replication of viruses, the things that kill out viruses and flush them out of your body, the things that purge your lymphatic system to detox your detoxification system of the body. If you want to learn a little bit more about all those things, then the preemptive strike, part 1 and part 2, is what we just did yesterday, I think, or 2 days ago. 2 days ago, we just did. And you can get a lot more detail about all of those things by referring to that. But what we're dealing with specifically now is what we ended the preemptive strike with, dealing with if you are afraid you've contracted, COVID-19 or novel coronavirus or SARS-CoV-2 or the SARS-2 virus or whatever it is you want to call it now. If you're afraid you've gotten that, we referred you to a whole lot of things, but in particular at the end, lomatium and sweet wormwood, or Artemisia annua, which is ARTEM annua. Artemisia annua. This is sweet wormwood. This isn't regular wormwood. Regular wormwood, they're very closely related. And regular wormwood, which is Artemisia absinthium, which is what they make absinthe with, what they make the liqueur absinthe with. And it's a very strong bitter. It's a very strong anti-parasitic, Artemisia absinthium. So it's good for detoxification of parasitic infections and worm infections and getting rid of those and flushing those out. So wormwood has a lot of benefits. Regular wormwood has a lot of benefits. But what we're dealing with specifically now is sweet wormwood. Sweet wormwood, it looks slightly different. It's a lighter shade of green. It's flat, kind of like the way curly parsley is to Italian parsley, how Italian parsley is flatter and broader in the leaf, and curly parsley is all curly and kinkled. That is the same similar difference in appearance between wormwood and sweet wormwood. But sweet wormwood has been revered for a very long time, and in the last 25 years in modern medicine as the most effective remedy for malaria. The single most effective remedy for malaria. Where all prescription drugs fail, where all prescription methods fail, sweet wormwood on its own remedies it almost overnight, within 24 hours. Rehabilitation from at the brink of death malaria in infants, in children, in adults, in old people. 24 hours. Sweet wormwood. And I can sit here and rally off a lot of things that I want to tell you about why I cherish sweet wormwood and why I adore sweet wormwood as one of the many, many valuable herbs in the artillery to battle the diseases that we are giving ourselves through our own ignorance, or even, well, we won't even get into that. We won't even get into the sinister and nefarious intention of a lot of these people who claim to have our best interest in mind. So once again, I'm not a doctor. None of this information that I'm giving you is going to cure you of anything. But this is from doctors. This is from the very same people who are saying that there haven't been enough studies. There haven't been enough studies to show that COVID-19 can be remedied with sweet wormwood. So we're not going to validate it. They don't put any credit in it. They don't put any stock in it. But I've sourced a bunch of material from the NIH, from the NCBI, from different scientific publications and research studies, from doctors and from scientists, to show you that they know of the value. They tout the value. They admit to the value of this herb for dealing with not just malaria, but cancer. Not just any kind of cancer cell, but lung cancer, breast cancer, pancreatic cancer, any kind of cancer. It's very efficient and effective at shrinking tumors and killing cancer cells, calling what's called cancer cell apoptosis. So we're going to tell you what they know. So next time you hear in a story, or some skeptic that doesn't know much anything tells you, oh, there's no proof that that has anything to do with anything, that's ever cured anything, you can tell them exactly what the WHO does know, and what the CDC does know, and what the NIH already does know. But they're not talking about it at these forums. They're not talking about it at these morning meetings. They're not talking about it on the news, on the camera, and pushing it down your throat so that you can get it driven into your subconscious to mistakenly believe that that's what you think, as they do with the mainstream narrative of today, which is inducing the fear that has us lining up to get the vaccine injection and the microchip. But after you see what's going on, what's really going on, and you realize that you can grow something in your yard or in your garden so that you don't have to take Bill Gates' vaccine, and Bill and Melinda Gates and Anthony Fauci, they're going to have to go and drink all of that vaccine they making. They're going to be the ones to have to drink all that vaccine. Thank God every day. Let's fast and pray that that's what happens very soon, because they're going to be stuck with a lot of redundant, toxic, poison, charcoal, petrochemicals that they are planning to inject into you. But you're not going to need it, because you're going to be able to arm yourself before you harm yourself with the solutions that they give you. All right. So that being the case, this all kind of started off when sent this to Baba, which is 37. I'm sorry, I don't have the PowerPoint. This was too fast. We had to get it going fast. 37 African countries declare support for Madagascar's coronavirus treatment, stating that Madagascar is upon a miracle cure for the coronavirus. Literally a soda, like a soda tonic made with sweet wormwood, as well as other African herbs, but primarily Artemisia annua, or sweet wormwood. And now Africa is uniting and rallying around. The scientists of Africa are uniting and rallying around Madagascar's efforts to recruit the rest of the countries in Africa to mass manufacture this drink, a soda that is curing COVID-19. Incredibly. But it is credible. And we're going to get into how credible the healing properties of sweet wormwood really are. So, and I'm not going to read you all these stories. Don't worry. I'm not going to read you all these stories. I'm just going to let you know about these stories so that you can go research them for yourself, so that you can go study them for yourself. In fact, by the time I got to all the COVID-19 studies that have just started in the beginning of the month, my printer ran out of ink. Just getting through all this, the little bits of the stories, the Cliff's Notes of all the stories that, once again, The NIH already knows about these healing properties. They're already admitting it to you. For years, they've admitted it to you. Just like they've admitted to you chemtrails, but you still think it's not real. Just like they've admitted to you geoengineering, except you think it's not real. Just like they admitted all these things, like they admitted, like the World Health Organization admitted that 75% of the polio epidemic in the world today is from Bill Gates's program, from his vaccine program. 75% of the polio in the world right now is from his polio programs. But this man is allowed to practice medicine without a license. He's the one we're banking on to come up with solutions when we have solutions growing up all around us. And they know about them. And so we're going to show you how they know about them. So far, 37 African countries have declared their support for Madagascar's coronavirus treatment. This is more than half of the 54 independent countries on the African continent. Over the past weekend, several African leaders held a video conferencing meeting that the leader of Madagascar, President Andry Rajoelina, to discuss modalities and also to assure him of Africa's support for this country's unique discovery. Some of the leaders that were present at the meeting, and they just name a bunch of them. Where's the juice? Where's the juice? Where's the juice? Oh, a product sold as COVID Organics, a drink, a tonic drink that contains extracts of the Artemisia annua plant, which is used to treat malaria. They are opening a factory, will be operational within a month to mass manufacture COVID Organics tonic. According to President Andry Rajoelina, our researchers and scientists are doing everything necessary to make our coronavirus remedy a drug that meets the standards, and he said this on state TV, as well as being harmless, affordable, and effective. This is something you cannot say for any vaccine at all that's ever been made. Harmless, affordable, and effective. So that being the case, this is just 37 countries have gotten on board. More are getting on board every day. The scientists, they're not just running to something that sounds interesting, that sounds intriguing, so we gravitate towards it because we want to believe it. No, they have doctors, they have medical specialists, they have scientists, molecular biologists, who are the ones who are analyzing the research that's coming out through the trials that they're doing with this tonic drink. And the results are miraculous, quote unquote. So that being the case, and now the WHO and the CDC is doing everything they can to quell the interest in this. They're doing everything they can to poo-poo the interest in this. They're trying to play on the psychological racism that not only white people in America and Europe have, but that white supremacy has spread and infected across the 196,940,000 square miles of the planet Earth. Every single person they have touched, the vampire has bitten, now thinks with this judgmental, pessimistic, cynicistic view of the intelligence and the scientific and innovative accomplishments of Black people, and particularly Black Africans. So because everyone in the world looks down on Africans, even the most intelligent amongst them, even though anyone who knows anything knows that, the mothers and fathers of civilization, medicine, art, surgery, architecture, every single incredible innovation of the modern world, as well as the antiquarian world, comes from African people, whether it's African people in Africa or African people in the diaspora, or once again, African people whose home is 196,940,000 square miles of the planet. Because everywhere you go, you can find indigenous, dark-skinned, melanated people who inhabited that place far before the contemporaries that are there today. So without detracting, because we're already far too far in and I haven't even gotten to the stuff, don't underestimate the capabilities of African scientists. Madagascaran president shades the WHO. Shades the WHO. because the WHO has worked overtime to shade Africa and to shade the conscience of the minds of people, good-hearted people who are empathetic and want to see Africa out of disease, out of sickness, out of constant childhood fatalities and epidemics of poverty and unhygienic, unhospitable conditions with no other place to go. They prey on this sympathy and this empathy and this sense of compassion that people in the world have for Africa. And they send, what do they set up? Do they set up clean water processing facilities? No. Do they set up permaculture and polycropping agricultural systems? No. They give them medicine. They give them injections. They give them drugs. They give them paralysis. They give them grand mal seizures. They give them autoimmune deficiencies. They give them sterilizing compounds in their vaccines and have admitted it. They admit it. But they don't force that down their throat like they force all this propaganda down your throat to believe that you are informed when you are anything but informed. You've been influenced. You've been led. You've been ushered through the stockyard like cattle to the slaughter. We, rather, not you, we, because we're all in this together. We're all desperately trying to find a solution that makes some sense. Well, here goes the solution that makes sense, except to anyone but the WHO, because, see, they work for pharmaceutical companies. They work for Bill Gates. They work for George Soros. They don't work for the people. The World Harm Organization does not work for the well-being of the people. They work for privatized corporations, pharmaceutical industries. Because, see, they can't patent Sweet Wormwood. They can't patent G-Gartina or oregano oil or black elderberry. You can't patent nature. You have to compromise nature and make it a compound that you can then patent and then sell as the only accredited, credible solution to the problem that they created. And if they didn't create it in a lab, then society created it through our ignorance, through the cancerous society that we exist in and support in our ignorance. So don't ever underestimate the capabilities of African scientists. Honor thy mother and thy father, so thy days may be long in the land in which the Lord God giveth you. So I just wanted to read one thing off of this, where if it wasn't for Madagascar, and if it wasn't for if it was a European country that had actually discovered this remedy, would there be so much doubt over it? I really don't think so, the president of Madagascar told the French media in an interview. The World Health Organization has repeatedly warned that COVID organics infusion, which Rojalina has touted as a remedy against the deadly coronavirus, has not been clinically tested. The drink is derived from Artemisia annua, a plant with proven anti-malarial properties, as well as other indigenous herbs. African scientists should not be underestimated, he told France. I think the problem is that the drink comes from Africa, and they can't admit that a country like Madagascar has come up with the formula, an affordable, a harmless, and effective formula to save the world. And said that Rojalina claims that the infusion cures patients within 10 days. But they want you locked down for months. They want you scared to leave your house. They want you scared to look at someone in their eyes. They want you scared to talk to your neighbor. They want you scared to help your neighbor with something. And if it's not the last 2 months, it's going to be another 2 months. Some say they're not going to have big, large-scale concerts and sports activities for another 2 years. They're saying 2022 before we can get large crowds together safely and think that we're going to be safe from this virus, which we're not even going to get into the origins of. If you want to get into the origins of, all you got to do is look at, what was it? The Bambu King goes in modern-day pandemonium. Modern-day pandemonium. So you can see why we're all strewn about, foolish, not knowing which way is up. So Already, Equatorial Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Niger, and Tanzania have taken delivery of consignments of the potion, which has launched last month, and many other African countries are now backing Madagascar in promoting this new-found cure. No country or organization will keep us. No country. This is Africa. This is how Africa need to start acting. And they are acting like it. Not just acting. They're doing. They're doing. And they need to get them Chinese out of there. And they need to get the US out of there. And any of these other hypocrites that are looking to impersonate the fraud and come with their cloak and dagger philanthropy, they need to run them out of here. You know, make a potion for them. All right. Already, Equatorial Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Niger, Tanzania have taken delivery of the consignment of the potion, which was launched last month, and many other African countries are now backing Madagascar in the promotion of this newfound cure. Quote, no country or organization will keep us from going forward, Rojalina said in response to the WHO's concerns. He said proof of the tonic's efficacy, meaning its effectivity, was in the, quote, healing of our sick and not just wish or mere saying. See, they're healing people with herbs. They're healing people with non-toxic, natural compounds. They're not killing people with it. They're healing people, which we could be doing if we weren't so stuck on stupid. But now is the time to tell the truth and shame the devil. So when they come up to you with their vaccine, when they come up to you with their remdesivir, you can say, get thee behind me, Satan, because I have Artemisia annua on board. I have G-Gartina on board. I got zinc in my cells, and there's no way that I'm going to hell with you. Bill Gates, Anthony Fauci, hypocrites. These are vampires. These are parasites. These are devils. And don't fall for the okie doke. Don't get it twisted. Don't worry about what your friends think about it. Your friends are drunk on ignorance. My friends are drunk on ignorance. Our families are drunk on ignorance. They're regurgitating and parroting narratives that have been projected at their subconscious so much that they think it's their own thoughts. Because the propaganda campaign is so thorough. But you ain't going to knock this out. Genie's out of the bottle now. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, buddy. That's my message to CDC. That's my message to the WHO. We're going to defrunk all of you and expose you because you're exposing yourself. You're exposing yourself with your own hypocrisy. And we see through you today. That's why it's 2020. You can't play these games like you did in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s. You can't keep people in the dark anymore. Everything you kept in the dark is coming out to the light. And the fact that we see how much you already know about these substances and how much you have already covertly and secretly accredited the value of these substances, yet in a time of global pandemic, when virologists and molecular biologists and doctors and scientists are working day and night tirelessly to try to give you the solutions, try to come up, concoct and conjure a solution for something that we claim we didn't create. We get amnesia, not artemisia. We don't run for the artemisia that we already know cures cancer, shrinks cancer cells, shrinks tumor cells, shrinks lung cancer, shrinks breast cancer. We don't run to the artemisia. We go and we get amnesia. And we go beg Bill Gates, the Skeksis, to give us some more drugs, like the drugs he gave to all these children in Africa, to paralyze 496,000 children, and doesn't even get charged by the WHO, doesn't even get acknowledged as problematic by the CDC. I want you to run, go Snopes this stuff we're going to deliver to these people. I want all these fake book fact checkers and all these YouTube, YouTube researchers. All these YouTube truth finders. I want you to go Snopes this. That's why we're giving you what your false idols already know about. That's why we give you this. Because we can go to the teachers. Because all our African teachers been talking about this for decades. All the greats, all the Dr. Sabis, all the Phil Valentines, all the Bobby Hemmets, all the Baba Kaba Hiawatha Kamenes, Baba Haru Ankara Sama Sepeta, all the Queen Afuas, all the Dr. Nalanis. They've been telling us this. Dr. Layla Africa talking about go back to the earth, African holistic medicine. All the answers are already here, but we have the veil, the cloak over our eyes. So you don't want to listen to the elders. You don't want to listen to the scholars. You don't want to listen to the researchers. Okay, you want to listen to the white man in the white coat trying to give you the white hope and some white powder? Well, we're going to tell you what those doctors have to say about wormwood, sweet wormwood. So don't underestimate, once again, don't underestimate the capabilities of African scientists. That's the first thing not to do. Here goes something from the NIH. And this says, and I'm not going to read you all of these things. I want you to go research them yourself. All you got to do is type in sweet wormwood breast cancer, sweet wormwood lung cancer, sweet wormwood malaria, sweet wormwood pancreatic cancer. That's all you got to do. And you spend a little time doing research. We spend so much time playing our fantasy football league. Why don't we look into what actually really exists in the real world? And this is from the NIH. This is the NCBI. This is the database of health studies according to the WHO, CDC, World Health Organization, the international hub and database for all accredited, credible, peer-reviewed studied research into all of these things. So you don't think I'm just David Iking you out. I'm not psyching you out. I'm not Iking you out. I'm giving it from your slave master. If you're so weak-minded to want to subscribe to their narrative. Well, let's talk about when they actually tell you the truth and then slide it away so you don't think about it too hard. Because then it make you start to reevaluate your trust in the methods that we're actually gravitating to right now, that we're waiting for in bated breath, holding our breath, hoping that they come up with something. They don't need to come up with something. They've had something. They had the thing that works this whole time. They've had it. And Africans have had it for hundreds of thousands of years. Ayurvedic practitioners have had it for hundreds of thousands of years. Traditional Chinese medicine doctors have had it for thousands and thousands of years, all of these things. But we don't respect them because Rockefeller told us that it was pseudoscience. Rockefeller came with some Nazi science and said, the Nazis say that this is all quackery and pseudoscience. So we believe that. They say, oh, we don't want people drinking wormwood tea because then that we know that it kills viruses and it might make the viruses resilient to the Artemisian phytochemicals. It might make the viruses resilient. Too many people go around drinking all this wormwood tea. It might make the viruses resilient to the phytochemicals. That's what they say. That's why they don't want you drinking the tea. They're worried it might work. It might work so good that the virus might have to change. See, no, the virus doesn't mutate according to what happens in nature because you have all the other volatile compounds and all the other cofactor compounds and other phytochemicals and nutraceuticals and the saponins and the carotenoids and the flavonoids that are all in there that balance it all out, that prevent something from retrofitting because it's only addressing one phytochemical. That's the drugs, that's the white man's drugs that it builds resiliency to, that the superbugs develop resiliency to, that these microevolutions, the reason it's micro-evolving so fast and retromutating so fast and starting to affect children now, Kawasaki syndrome and all these other things that are coming up in relation to coronavirus, the reason it's doing that is because we're trying to hit it with one chemical at a time, one drug at a time. We're not using the raw herbs. We're not using the synergistic entourage effect of the herbs to balance it, that don't harm our gut biology. They don't ill affect the rest of the aspects of our immune system in order to get one chemical reaction. You see, so artemisinins, which are some of the phytochemicals in the Artemisia annua, or the sweet wormwood that they're focusing on, that's Madagascar is healing people with, that 37 countries in Africa are now healing people with a soda pop. And we waiting for the vaccine. We waiting for the microchip to feel safe. We need the chip now to feel safe. We done lost our minds. Artemisinians are growing their growing importance in medicine. And I'll read this little. Artemisinians are derived from the extracts of sweet wormwood, Artemisia annua, and are well established in the treatment of malaria. This is from the NIH. This is from the NIH. For the treatment of malaria, including highly drug-resistant strains of malaria. Drug-resistant, because they're resistant to the drugs. They're resistant to the prescription. They're resistant to the tar, coal derivative chemical compounds that they manipulated and then assimilated little aspects of the wormwood in and try to make these drugs, and they work a little bit for a little while and then fizzle out in the effectivity. But raw wormwood, sweet wormwood, are well established for the treatment of malaria, including highly drug-resistant strains. Their efficacy also extends to phylogenetically unrelated parasitic infections, such as schistosomiasis, which you get from flatworms. More recently, they have also shown potent and broad anti-cancer properties in cell lines and animal models. Anti-cancer properties, multiple, broad spectrum anti-cancer properties in cell lines and animal models. In this review, we discuss recent advances in defining the role of artemisinins in medicine, with particular focus on their controversial mechanisms of action. This safe and cheap drug class that saves lives at risk from malaria can also have important potential in oncology, which is the remediation of cancer. So this is what they already know about sweet wormwood. So there's that one. Here goes from another sciencemag.com, huge revered scientific publication. Wormwood kills cancer cells. Wormwood extract kills cancer cells. They're talking about sweet wormwood. Sweet wormwood. And I want you to read that. That's in sciencemag.com. Wormwood extract kills cancer cells. Here goes another one from the NIH, the NCBI. Here goes another one from them. Anti-tumor research on artemisinin and its bioactive derivatives. This is breaking down so much anti-cancer research. See, I was saving the sweet wormwood. I was saving it for when me and Baba did the cancer presentation, to expel the fear of cancer, to know how to remediate cancer, to go through lists and lists of different foods and herbs and roots and seeds and nuts and the phytochemicals and nutraceuticals in them that obliterate cancer and cause cancer cell apoptosis, when they tell you that it's incurable, when they tell you that there's no way, when they tell you that it's impossible. I was saving sweet wormwood for that. But this is too important to pass up. This is so important for us to know so we can get rid of the fear that they're trying to conjure in us to control us and manipulate us and to steer us in whatever direction they want us to go in. Anti-tumor research on artemisinin and its bioactive derivatives. Go read it for yourself. NIH. Go read it at PubMed, NCBI. You can read it in these places. Here go another one from NIH. Artemisinin and its derivatives can significantly inhibit lung tumorigenesis and tumor metastasis through WNT beta-catenin signaling. And this one's a little bit more scientific, but ultimately what it breaks down is how sweet wormwood inhibits the growth of cancer cells in the lungs. It shrinks tumors in the lungs. If you look at sweet wormwood, if you look at the way the leaf looks, it looks like the bronchial tubes. It resembles the lungs. If you look at Nigella sativa, black seed oil, if you look at the flower, the Nigella flower, and you look at the leaf structure, petual structure and the leaf structure of the flower, it looks like the bronchial canals. And it's good for asthma, and it's good for bronchitis, and it's good for pneumonia, and it's good for any kind of upper respiratory dysbiosis. the doctrine of signatures. It's here for us to look and see. God gave us eyes to look and see. Kuya, they say in Jamaica. Come look, come see. The earth begs us to recognize the healing that's all around us. But we blind because we listen to the devil. It shrinks tumor cells, cancer cells. Artemisinin and its derivatives can significantly inhibit lung tumorigenesis. NIH, go look for that. PubMed. Here go another one. Here go the doctor who tea infusions of wormwood plant cured schistosomiasis faster than commonly used drug and clinical trials. And I believe this is the same doctor who they're showing you right there was the doctor who was desperately trying to cure a whole group of people of malaria a few years ago. Trying to cure a whole group of people of malaria. And they exhausted every single pharmaceutical that they had, every malaria drug that they had. And they had little children, little 8-month-old baby, little 6-year-old kids. They had kids and old people and everyone had malaria, and they had used everything that the white man had given to them. And it all failed. But this doctor, she said her grandma always told her about the magic healing powers of sweet wormwood. And she remembered that. And she was a botanist and she grew wormwood. She had it all over her garden. She never used it for anything. She kept it to keep the bad bugs away because it's an anti-parasitic, because it keeps nasty bugs away from your garden. That's why I have wormwood out here in my garden, to keep the bugs away. And that's all she did with it. But she was like, grandma always told me about this. All the medicine men of Africa, where they were working on this project, they all said, it's sweet wormwood. You need to use this. This is the herb for malaria. And all the doctors say, nah, we ain't into that, none of that voodoo, none of that juju, that ain't gonna work. But this doctor, she had 2 days left before these people were all gonna start dropping dead. And she was like, I've done everything. So she started making teas with the sweet wormwood. She started giving them teas with the sweet wormwood. 24 hours, cured. Malaria, cured. But we don't respect the earth. We don't respect African people. We don't respect the architects of science, mathematics, medicine, because we think we know better. Because we follow in the Pied Piper into the sea of ignorance is what we're doing. Because the people who are supposed to be protecting our best interest and keeping us safe and keeping us healthy and keeping us not sick are in the pocket of the corporations that profit from our sickness and profit from our ignorance and our mismanagement of our own health. So that's who they're really working for. The Chemical Death Cartel, or the CDC, the World Harm Organization, the WHO, the Gates of Hell Foundation by Bill and Melinda Gates. Thrill kill Gates, we like to call them. Tea infusions of wormwood plant cured schistosomiasis faster than commonly used drugs. That's a pathogenic disease you get from parasitic infections of flatworms. That's really nasty. But sweet wormwood get rid of it. It get rid of the parasite. It get rid of the parasite, the virus, and the pathogenic bacterial infection that you get from the flatworm in hours. In hours. So look, that's a medical press. That's the medical press, and that's, once again, tea infusions of wormwood plant cured schistosomiasis. And here goes something else from the NIH, because the whole world's working on this. The whole world's looking for a cure. The whole world wants to find a remedy. But you know what China was working on a while ago, a few years ago? This. Chinese researchers discovered effectiveness of artemisinin against malaria. There it is. This is what China was working on. I don't know why they ain't talking about it right now. I don't know why they ain't trotting it out right now. I don't know why the whole world is searching for a cure. But they just can't seem to find what's right under their nose. It's almost like they're desperately trying not to find it. But you're going to find it if you're listening to this right now or anytime soon. You already know what it is. They already know what it is. Science Daily. This is a Science Daily right here. Patients with drug-resistant malaria cured by plant therapy. Artemisia annua plant. Tablets made from dried leaves. This ain't no crazy chemical compound you need a pharmaceutical lab to produce. Tablets made from dried leaves of Artemisia annua plant cured 18 critically ill patients in the Congo clinic. The results suggest a new and inexpensive treatment. See, that's the problem. Inexpensive. You can grow it yourself. That's a problem for them. You see? So the results suggest a new and inexpensive treatment option for the mosquito-borne disease that affects 212 million people worldwide. That's the Science Daily. Here go one that this is when my printer really kind of cut out on me. So we had to cut it short on that. But Artemisia annua, sweet wormwood. This herb found to kill 98% of breast cancer cells in 16 hours. But how many of your relatives got breast cancer? How many aunties and uncles and moms and grandmas and great-grandmother? Graves have you had to cry over? Because if it wasn't the cancer that killed them, chances are it was the chemotherapy and the radiation that did it. How come under 3%? How come under 3% of people who go through chemo and radiation therapy for any kind of cancer who's remiss from any kind of cancer condition doesn't have a reoccurring cancer crisis within 5 years of the treatment? Under 3% success rate. It's actually like 2.2 of people who have taken chemotherapy and radiation to get rid of cancer, get rid of it temporarily and come back with different cancers or the same cancer again within 5 years. How many of our families have had to suffer, not just the one going through the crisis, but had to have the emotional pain and emotional stress that leads to diseases in us, other expressions of diseases in us, because stress is the main cause of every disease. How many of us, when sweet wormwood has been found to kill 98% of breast cancer cells in 16 hours? But that's not good business for them. That's dangerous for them. That's dangerous for their bottom line. And we're trying to clear what the bottom line really is for you so you don't get it twisted in your mind. So you don't get messed up and start to, because out of desperation, we grasp at straws and we desperately seek out a solution. And we lose faith in the knowledge of the ancients. We lose faith in the knowledge of the ancestors. Our ears go deaf and our heart goes numb to the cries of the realm of the Egun as they see us toiling and going through turmoil. We don't hear Nkulu Kulu. When Nkulu Kulu says you have to grow herbs, you have to grow your medicine. Let me teach you how to grow your medicine. Let me instill in you the knowledge of how to grow your own medicine. Nkulu Kulu. But we don't hear Nkulu Kulu. We don't hear the ancestors. We don't hear the Egun. Because we're sitting there desperately seeking what Anthony Fauci has to say. So we're going to finish it with this one. The WHO versus the tea doctor. You see how happy he is? You see how happy that African man is? Because he's able to give these old people who are suffering from cancer, suffering from parasitic diseases, suffering from malaria, able to give them a couple cups of his tea that he makes and watch them live a long, happy, healthy life and not have to worry about that again? Or if they do have to worry about it again, it's as easy as having a tea party. So why does the WHO have a problem with that? You may be surprised, you see. You may be surprised to learn that the World Health Organization and the majority of malaria researchers are adamantly opposed to this. To be fair, there are compelling reasons not to endorse an herbal tea in a fight against potentially deadly diseases. After all, conventional single molecule drugs, not synergistic herbs created by a divine intelligence, but single molecule drugs have been honed through chemistry to be safer, which is not true, more specific, and more effective than their herbal progenitors. More critically, malaria experts worry that unregulated use of this tea could cause the malaria parasite to develop resistance to artemisinin drugs. You drink the tea, then the thing's going to get resistant to the drugs we produce. No, they're already resistant to the drugs you produce because the drugs you produce are poison. Because the drugs you produce weaken the immune system of the host and don't effectively get rid of the problem. The only good thing about it is you can patent it, put a copyright on it, and make bank from Pfizer and GSK and Merck as they go around and murk African children, murk Indian children, murk Chinese children, murk Brazilian children in the name of philanthropy. Done playing with these people, done giving these people the benefit of the doubt. The apathy and the indifference we have to the crimes of these criminal organizations and the medical mafia is the air that they breathe to survive. Hundreds of thousands of children's lives ruined every year because of our philanthropy. So, all right, brother, that's where we're going with this. I do not want to run too long. We're close. We'll make it 1 hour since we're already there. We're already there. And I don't want to detract from the focus of Sweet Wormwood. But, you know, I did mention that eventually we're going to do a cancer program, the anti-cancer program, the cancerous culture revelation program, so that we can reveal the case studies and the peer-reviewed case studies when dealing with amygdalin-heavy apricot kernel seeds, as well as other fruit seeds, but in particular apricot kernel seeds and the amygdalin or the laetrile that is developed from the amygdalin that causes cancer cell apoptosis. It kills cancer. The graviola or soursop or guanabana, it's all the same kind of fruit, tropical fruit. Some people call it graviola, some people call it soursop. Some people call it guanabana. But you know what scientists call it? 10,000 times more effective at killing cancer cells than chemotherapy. So, you know, but they don't tell you that at any of these health forums. When all these old sick talking heads come out and take off their masks and cough and sneeze into the microphone and talk about they trying to consider what is the best thing to do about your health. Broccoli sprouts, the sulforaphane and glutathione producing sulforaphane within broccoli sprouts. That's proven to be more effective in treating and remitting cancer than chemotherapy and radiation, according to Johns Hopkins University. That is. The green tea and the epigalactotechin compounds within green tea that cause cancer cell apoptosis. Fenugreek sprouts. It's an Indian, it looked like a weird little square seed. It's an Indian spice used in Indian cuisine. But when you make a tea, it smells kind of like maple syrup. And you can drink the tea. And you can sprout the seeds and eat the sprouts. And it destroys cancer. as well as purges your lymphatic system and moves all the mucus through your lymphatic system to detox and decontaminate the 300,000 miles of lymph that we have in our body that gets congested because of all this garbage we eat and the lack in our sedentary lifestyle and our lack of actual work and sweat and toil to keep everything moving and purging and detoxifying in our system, leading to gout and edema and acidosis. So SEACT is in the mix, ancient Native American blend of 5 different herbs that cured cancer, along with echinacea, along with lomatium, all Native American remedies, why they weren't dying from the Spanish flu, why they weren't dying from the influenza. It's because of these SEACTs and echinacea and lomatium. Pa de arco out of South America, the bark out of the Pa de arco tree that stops the replication of viruses in cells, that shrinks cancer cells, that blocks healthy cells from being converted into cancerous cells. Asparagus and the asparaginase A, and the glutathione and the crude saponins in asparagus that just dissolve cancer out of your body and allow you to just flush it out of your body. Everyone's like, yeah, I don't like asparagus and make your pee smell. Yeah, you better believe it make your pee smell. That's death coming out of you. That's the darkness coming out of you. That's the poison coming out of you. That's everything that got put in you through your ignorance and bad food getting flushed out of you thanks to asparagus. So give thanks that asparagus make your pee smell. I love the way asparagus make my pee smell. I love it. Thank God every day for asparagus and asparaginase A. Sweet wormwood on the list. We know about sweet wormwood, and look into the studies on pancreatic cancer, things they say there's never ever been a cure for. Look at how easily it can remiss breast cancer and lung cancer. These things that take so many lives every day. And it needlessly, and spend billions and trillions of dollars on not remedying people. And you sign contracts saying that there's no guarantee that any of this stuff is going to work, but they still get billions of dollars to practice on you with Nazi medicine. Or to give them the benefit of the doubt, uninformed, undynamic, unholistic, unsynergistic medicine. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe a lot of willing ignoramuses in the mix. Educated fools, as Bunny Wailer and Damian Jr. Gone Marley say. Educated fools ruin the world. Spoil the lives for all the boys and the girls. Not for much longer. It's 2020. We see you, devil. We see you. And turmeric, along with black pepper to make the curcumin in the turmeric far more bioavailable, once again, doesn't just cause cancer cell apoptosis incredibly, but is also incredibly good for your skin, incredibly good for your nourishing your liver, incredibly good for your brain health, incredibly good for your heart health. Side benefits. Full spectrum dominance, not in a negative technological way, but full spectrum dominance of your immune system and your health and vitality and well-being with herbs and supplements and roots and fruits and seeds and nuts. Plant food medicine. CBD, cannabis, cannabosa, as it's called in the Bible. We don't even have time to go into cannabis, and we only got 1 minute left. So when you're thinking about resveratrol and selenium and iodine and vitamin C to boost your immune system and to enhance your Melchizedek armor, if you want to know about how to build your Melchizedek armor and to make it radiant and thick and resilient against the diseases of the world today, then all you have to do is go a few clicks back and watch The Bambu King Goes In on Preemptive Strike, part 1 and part 2. It's all in there. It's all in there. We tell you about vitamin A, C, D, about zinc and the importance of zinc and selenium in the body, about medicinal mushrooms, about the benefits of probiotics and fermented foods, about antimicrobial, antiviral herbs, olive leaf, oregano, pa de arco, echinacea, Oregon grape, golden seal, And that being the case, don't want to make this any more than an hour. And we're right there, Brother Baba. Thank you so very much for allowing me to come back on with an urgent message for our family who no longer need to live in fear, who no longer need to live in fear and be scared that they're going to have to take a vaccine in order to prevent getting a disease that is now going to be an inevitability. And the way you prevent getting it is you build your physical structure. You eat a cleaner diet. You learn to embrace and love fasting, maybe even embrace and love doing enemas and colonics to clean out all the decades and decades and decades of neglect and abuse in the body. You clean all that out. You create a proper cellular function that's efficient in the way it operates. And no weapon formed against us shall prosper, especially those weapons being developed in Wuhan's Institute of Virology, or those weapons engineered and funded by the NIH, the negative intention industry, the chemical death cartel, the World Harm Organization. No weapon formed against us shall prosper, family. We're all going to come out this together, but I beg you, arm yourself with a knowledge of self and the wise ways of true health. And no weapon formed against you shall prosper. All of those things are listed in Preemptive Strike Part 1 and Part 2, so you can get into depth. I know it's long, family. I just go with the spirit. I just tap in. I'm just reciting whatever it is the greater divine intelligence is channeling through me. That's why it goes on so long. That's why it gets so convoluted and complicated. But I'm sure there's something in there of value to each and every one of us, hopefully. Hopefully. And if there's not, look at something else. There's a lot of brilliant people out here who are way smarter than me and way better orators than me and way more accredited than me who are out there and doing it. Go ask Dr. Enki. Go ask Brother Enki. He knows what's going on. Go ask young Pharaoh know what's going on. Go ask Dr. Ali Muhammad what's going on. Go ask Bill Valentine. Refer back to the last 2 or 3 decades of information that exists from Brother Valentine and Dr. Nalani and Queen Afua and Bobby Hemmett and Dr. Layla Africa and Dr. Sabi. It's all been there. It's nothing new. It's not even new to the NIH. They know about Sweet Wormwood. So all of this was to say, if you're worried about getting it, prepare your Melchizedek armor by topping up on the vitamins and the minerals and the coenzymes and the antivirals. And if you don't have money for any of that, all you got to do is get some lemons, some licorice root, some ginger root, and do big old pot of tea and drink that throughout the day. Maybe get a box of super echinacea, triple echinacea yogi tea so you can spike your lemon ginger licorice tea with a little bit of echinacea or a little bit of pa de arco for extra effectivity. And you just drink that through the day. You take your vitamin C, not just ascorbic acid, but acerola cherry or citrus or amla berry or camu camu berry, food source, food-derived vitamins, what we need. Not all these synthesized problematic things that are coming from the same pharmaceutical industry. We need food-derived vitamins. And if you want to get it from your food, that's the cheapest way to get it. Make you some sauerkraut for your probiotics. Don't pay no whole bunch of stuff. Make some sauerkraut with some cabbages. It's the easiest thing in the world. It just takes a few weeks and a bit of time, you know? But antimicrobials, antivirals, and above everything else, if it all fails and you get sick and you're worried about you got COVID, get you some pills and some tincture of some sweet wormwood, Artemisia annua. Artemisia annua, A-N-N-U-A, Artemisia annua, and start dosing with that, along with the G-Gartina and the black seed oil. You see, and the black elderberry, and ain't none of this stuff going to be able to linger in you too long. They're giving people sweet wormwood soda and curing them of coronavirus in 10 days. Don't be scared. Don't be stressed out. Don't be fearful. This is our planet. We're going to take our planet back. Not that we own it. Not that it belongs to us, but we belong to it. And we'll be damned if Bill Gates allows us to be stolen away from the earth with his solar radiation management, where he's paying people in Harvard to scatter nanoparticulate and block the sun so that we can't produce vitamin D. So we have to buy it from him. He's paying 500,000 shares he owns on genetically modified agriculture with Monsanto because he wants to feed the world with death. We're being stolen away from our mother. We're being stolen away from our father. We need to return to Nut and Geb. We need to return to Tiamat or Mother Earth or Ki or Geo, Gaia, Mana. We need to return from whence we came. If we want to get sick, come out of her, my people. So you may not indulge in her sins and receive any of her plagues. She has become a habitation of devils, a cage for every, or a hole for every foul beast, and a cage for every unclean and hateful bird. Mystery, Babylon the Great has fallen, has fallen. This is the death cry for Babylon. That's why everything's moving so fast. That's why they're trying to stress you out so much. Why they're trying to conjure so much fear in your heart. It's because this is the death cry. This is the Hail Mary attempt at totalitarian control over the whole world. This is the globalist death cry. But Babylon's already dead. Babylon's so dead it doesn't even know it yet. It's just trying to kill you before you realize how dead Babylon really is. But not today. Not today, devil. Because these people know, these wise and intelligent people know. They're not worried about looking cool or hip or slick or not being laughed at by their peers. They're not worried about that. They're not even worried. They are engaged in developing a knowledge of self and a knowledge of the essence of which they come from. And once we harness that essence, then we're right back to being exactly who and what we are. So that being the case, all my love to you people, all my love to Baba TV family, Baba TV universe, everyone out there under the sound of my voice right now. If you've made it this far, thank you so very much for your time, attention, and also before I give so much love and respect to Baba for allowing me this opportunity on his platform, we give all the credit where it's due. We give all the credit to the elders. We give all the credit to those who came before. We give all the credit to the Phil Valentines and the Kaba Hiawatha Kamenes and the Dr. Nalanis and the Queen Afuas and the Baba Haru Ankara Samaj Sepeta. We give thanks to Dr. Sabi and to Dr. Lelia Africa. We give thanks to Dr. Suzar. All respect, all reverence, and appreciation going out to all of these scholars who have been giving it to us for generations. So go back to the books. Go back and study. Go back to the earth so we can reconnect once again with Unkulu Kulu and realize, like King Ma say in his song Flat Earth, he said, Nkulu Kulu don't teach us about no flat earth. And Kulu Kulu teach us to grow herbs in our earth. So we doing it. We doing that. We're going back to that. And very soon, not only are we going to have to manage our own health, but we're going to have to start managing our own food production and our own medicine production and our own fuel production and our own water production. We're going to have to get excited about doing these industrious tasks that don't seem chic or sexy or hip or cool or interesting. But you know what really sucks? You know what really isn't interesting? Dying of starvation, malnutrition, septicemia, and having no access to clean water or clean food or clean herbs or clean medicine or clean supplements, only having access to whatever a craft they're conjuring for us in the back corridor. We ain't gonna be your whore no more, Babylon. So that being the case, all my love, all my gratitude, all my appreciation going out to you, Baba, and give thanks so much for this opportunity, for this urgent message from Selecta AD, the Bambu King.
All right, family, you've heard it. That was some very pertinent information from our brother AD, Ross AD, the Bambu King. And just this really doesn't have anything to do with what you were talking about, but I just want to bring up our brother Von Benjamin and Midnight for a second. And I remember when he changed, he had a leave of absence for a while, and then he came back and he switched the title to Ake Becca. Now, I mean, I heard the biblical breakdown on that, but there's anything that you might, be able to add to that? Is there a deeper science to the name Ake Becca?
Yeah, there is. If I don't even know if I have my Book of Enoch accessible right now, but it is a combination of oaths taken out of the Book of Enoch, one of the lost books of the original Bible, the Septuagint, and the lost books of the Bible. Enoch was the grandfather of Noah, biblical Noah, as it were. And I say biblical Noah because, really it's an allegorical story based on a Sumerian named Utnapishtim. If you really want to get into the Enuma Elish and the Epic of Gilgamesh and understand about the true flood, the historic flood that the parables of the Bible are based on, it's a man named Utnapishtim and is the Noah. But sake of argument, Ethiopian grandfather of Noah, Enoch. Book of Enoch. In the Book of Enoch, I believe it's chapter 24 to 31. I believe it's somewhere in there where it speaks of the oaths of Ake and Becca and different oaths of Ake Becca. And I'd love to be able to share with you verbatim those chapters. But I don't have it right in front of me, and I really don't want to butcher it just from memory. But ultimately, what it speaks to is the oaths of acknowledgement, the humbling of oneself in knowledge, the reaffirmation of disciplines and oaths made to a higher divine intelligence. And once again, rooting yourself back into the earth from whence you came, not being so high-minded with the intellect of the modern day that you dispossess yourself from the essence of which all things come. And just as it's parallel with midnight, time was not counted from daylight, you see, but from midnight. Well, the morning starts in darkness, as does the night. You come from the darkness back into the darkness. Before Alpha and after Omega is black, or Amen, which is the great black. When you study W.D. Farah Muhammad and the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, you learn of the triple blackness of the universe. Well, this triple blackness of the universe is the dark energy that produces the dark matter. That is what makes up the majority of the universe. The dark energy is what makes up the majority of the universe. And the next level of the amount of vastness of space that lends credence and lends elemental frequency to creation is dark matter. And out of the dark matter is born all of the elements that create matter and create mass and create the natural laws that keep the earth spinning. And that's what it speaks of in the Achaea and in the Becca, and the reaffirming of oaths and convictions to these laws, to these divine laws of nature, to these divine laws of creation, to these divine laws of the universe, and bearing witness to the power and the magnificence of and the vastness of intelligence. This isn't no chaotic phenomenon, and even chaos is born out of the intelligent magic of the dark energy of the universe. So when Midnight called himself, or the band, Midnight, it was speaking to the essence of all things coming out of blackness. And later on, when he mellowed out, because if you knew Vaughn when he was younger, when you knew Midnight and Ron as well, when they were younger, they were very militant. They were fervently and unapologetically black Rastafarians. And over time developed empathy and compassion and tolerance for those who seek to feast from the knowledge of the original man and the original woman. When they started seeing Chinese people and European people and Hispanic people and people from the 196,940,000 square miles of the planet all seeking to learn at the feet of the original man and woman, they realized that maybe when they were younger, they didn't realize it so much or accept that responsibility so much. But as they grew and matured, they realized that it was, who to whom is given great power is expected great responsibility. And they started to embrace that responsibility and started to embrace a sense of humility so that they could teach and feed the lessons that maybe you and me and many of the people listening have received from Dr. Joseph Ben Yakinen and John Henrik Clark and Dr. Charles Finch and Ashra Kwesi and Phil Valentine and Bobby Hemmed and Brother Dawood and all of these great men and women that have blessed us with this infinite wealth of knowledge, a wellspring of knowledge from the Akea Beka, from the dark energy or the black essence. And even Red Fox told you, he said, you hate black, you better hope you don't ever die, because there ain't nothing but black down there in the grave. So that's the thing, is everything comes from darkness and everything returns back to darkness. Darkness isn't the absence of anything. Darkness, white, is the complete absence of color. Any artist or anyone who's gone to art school will tell you that white is not a color and black is not a color. They are pigmented polar opposites of one another. They are polar opposite pigments, meaning white is the complete absence of color, you see, while black is the essence of which all color is created. All color comes from black. And if you mix all colors together, it becomes black. So it is not the absence of anything. It is the wealth and the treasure of all things that emanate out of the dark energy and the dark matter of the universe. And the Ake and the Beka are convictions and oaths acknowledging this power and acknowledging this relevance and acknowledging fine-tuning your consciousness and awareness into the same magical magnetism that, as it says in the book of Enoch, keeps the celestial spheres rotating around one another. What keeps the moon circling around the earth and the earth circling around the sun and the sun circling around whatever it's circling around? What keeps everything precisely moving where it needs to be? It's the dark energy. It's the divine intelligence of the universe, of which all things that exist tangibly or intangibly on this ether or any other ether above or below is derived from. So what causes the rivers to flow? What determines how the rivers flow? What determines how the leaves grow? What determines the seasons and the change of the seasons? This is what Akea Beka is referring to. It's the great black. It's Amen. It's the essence of which all intelligence comes into reality and where it returns back to at the end of its borrowed time. What is time? It's just a reflection of this essence that we have to learn to measure so that we can keep our dates in place. So I would love to have those chapters available so I could read them to you first and then start to break down what I believe they mean, because that's all I'm really giving you is my interpretation of it. But my interpretation to it speaks to all of the mathematics that keep everything in place. And all my nation of gods and earth brothers out there, all my 5% nation out there know exactly what we're talking about, far better than I do. So it's these divine mathematics are all come from in the acknowledgement of the reality, and the retuning into these divine mathematics are the oaths that a man or woman takes when they take the oath of Ake, when they take the oath of Beka, when they take an oath of acknowledging the reality of it, and they take the oath of humbling themselves to be rewarded and steered intelligently by it. So midnight was the first incarnation of a deeper conceptualization of what actually is. Time it's before time. Time is counted not from daylight, but from midnight. Everything comes from darkness, goes back into darkness. The Ake and the Beka is very relevant in learning who you are as a person, learning who you are as a human being. And because later in life, the most honorable Von Benjamin or Ake Beka, who we give so much reverence, credence, and appreciate love for the energy that brother brought, and for the information that brother brought, and the sacrifice that this man made with his life, as short as it was. He delivered so much that it's going to take us the rest of our lifetimes to decipher what he left in his 75 plus albums, and still growing, because people are taking what they still have, what they couldn't put together before he passed, and putting together whole albums of stuff. So his posthumous catalog is probably going to rival most of the top mainstream artists' whole catalog of their whole career. Is probably going to pale in comparison to his posthumous catalog. This man already has 75 albums out and growing every year. And it's going to take us more than the rest of our lifetimes to really decipher the infinite amounts of wisdom that he siphoned from the Ake Beka and supplanted, that he retrieved and channeled from the Akashic record to give to us graciously, humbly. Every time I spoke with Vaughn, he said, I don't do this for lights, camera, action. Some people need that. Some people, that's what makes them feel fulfilled. He said, every single word and every single song I sing comes straight from the heart. I can't control what that means to other people. All I can control is what I do with my short time on this planet. And every word from every song he ever sang came straight from his heart. He's the one who sang about your ribcage story. What's the ribcage story? Because if you look at your ribcage, it looks like a book open. It looks like when you have a book open, that's what your ribcage looks like. He was a very biblical, he was a biblical scholar. That man knew the Bible better than anyone I've ever met. But he realized that the most important thing wasn't just to know the Bible, wasn't just to know the Septuagint, wasn't just to know the Quran, wasn't just to know the Tanakh, wasn't just to know the Enuma Elish, wasn't just to know the Kemetic Book of the Dead, the coming forth today from night. It wasn't just to know all these antiquarian books. It's good to know those books, and it's good to know the historical origins and evolution of religion. As Alvin Boyd Kuhn teaches. Big up the one Tahuti Sa Nebuchadnezzar wouldn't know about a lot of these books if it wasn't for the generosity of Brother Tahuti Sa Nebuchadnezzar, our elder. And I failed to mention when I was talking about all these intellectual greats out there, because he is truly one of mine and at the top of my list. So big ups, Brother Tahuti. And all these books are good to know these things, yes. But more importantly than knowing any of these things is to know what your ribcage story is. You don't need a book to teach you morality. You don't need a book to teach you morality. Khalid Abdul Muhammad spent countless hours breaking down the difference between religion and spirituality. That you didn't need all these books, that you are the book. Your ribcage story is the book. The small, still voice inside of you. That's the book that you're writing. That's the Akashic record that you're writing every day with every decision you make, with every moment that you're alive and what you decide to spend that moment doing. And we wasted, most of us, most of the time. But we need to reaffirm these oaths, which is what Von Benjamin said he was doing when he changed his name to Akebeka. He was reaffirming his oaths to these things. He was reevaluating why he does what he does, which is why he so selflessly, probably against the best wishes of his family, probably against the best wishes at times of his bandmates, certainly against the best wishes of myself. Because I wanted this man to live a long and healthy life. But it was more important to him to share his life so that others may live, you see. He sacrificed his life so that others may have everlasting life through a knowledge of self, through a knowledge of the Akebeka, the divine, everlasting, omnipotent, undying energy of the dark energy of the universe, the womb, the cosmic womb of the universe, which bears everything else into existence. He was, in his mind, or I don't want to speak for him, but from my perspective, in his mind, his life was in service to all those who wanted to reconnect and reaffirm these oaths of the Ake and the Beka. And so he tried to, in his own unique way, because he was very much a savant when it comes to music. He was very much a savant when it comes to poetry. You can read his book, The Cole Pakud, that he wrote a long time ago in the early 2000s. He used to do slam poetry back in DC, in Baltimore and in DC. He used to do slam poetry. He used to do creative spoken word, like Muda Baruka and Linton Kwesi Johnson type stuff, but on a whole nother level, because he was tapping into not just Rastafarian interpretations of Greco-Roman Judeo-Christian mythological belief systems, which is what 90% of what reggae music was based on, but he was siphoning in aspects of Hebrew Israelite knowledge, Kemetic knowledge, Sumerian knowledge, Olmec knowledge. He was bringing it all together. He was trying to relink all the houses or the lost tribe of Shabazz. He was trying to bring all the mansions together, not just the Rastafarian mansions, which is why you've spoken about this on this platform before. I remember, Baba, about how he used to, the early midnight shows used to bring everyone out, all the hip hop heads and the gods and earths and the Hebrew Israelites and the Moorish Science Temple and the Kemetic practitioners. You know, all the Rastafarians there, everyone there, family reunion. Because they could look past whatever his individual identity was and see that this man is a Moses. He's parting the Red Sea, the confusion, the sea of confusion that the Pied Piper is ushering all of us into every day with this misinformation. And he parted that sea and he allowed the people, his people, all indigenous people and all those who are sympathetic to the plight and the compassion of the heart of indigenous people to walk through the sea unscathed by the ignorance, cleared of the ignorance and the foolishness and the confusion, and to relink with the essence which bore all of these things. Baba used to say this to me. Baba, this man right here, used to say this to me. He's like, we act so foolish sometimes and argue over things that we know not what. It's like, if I say that 6 and 1 is 7, and you say that 4 and 3 is 7, and this man says 5 and 2 is 7, and this one says 7 and 0 is 7. You get us all together in the same room, we start arguing with one another. We can't find any room for unity. We can't find any room for a functional unity because we get stuck on stupid, and we start to bitterly bicker with one another over semantics when we don't see that it's all pointing to the same thing, that it's all adding up to the same thing. And instead of uniting and building up a resilient, united front around morality, truth, justice, righteousness, harmony, balance, order, and reciprocity, the virtues of Maya, instead of manifesting those in our real life with one another, Kuji Chagulia, Umoja, Kuji Chagulia, Ujima, Ujama, Nia, Kaumba. These aren't just fancy African words to spout off, during Kwanzaa, The reason these were established for Kwanzaa was because they mean so much. They're so important in the things that we need to instill in our lives, in our behavior, in our dealing with one another. But we get caught up on mythology and foolishness and semantics and how we sound to others that we are trying to win the admiration and adoration from. And we get lost in the sauce. And then all of that wisdom is wasted. I do a show called The Taste of Consciousness. And what I worry is that when people start to disagree and get bitter at some of the content I say, and they turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to anything I say because of either the way I look or my genetics or the way I sound and how curt I come off and how maybe spiteful I sound in some of my malicious attacks against ignorance, I start worrying that it goes from a taste of consciousness to a waste of consciousness. And nothing's worse, as Michael Rose said, nothing's worse than someone who has talent and wastes it. And I'll paraphrase to say someone who has consciousness and wastes it because they get stuck on stupid and trivial things. And this book versus that book, and this interpretation of that parable versus this interpretation. Well, what did the parable teach? What was the lesson that the parable was trying to teach? What was the message that was being taught? That's what's important. Not which book it came out of, or which language it was in, or which words you said during the ritual or whatever. Intention is everything. What's your intention? What's the sincerity of your intention in your heart? What's your ribcage story say about it? That's the only book that matters. That's what Vaughn was teaching us. What's your ribcage story? So without going on and on and on and turning this into another 6-hour presentation, Baba, I hope that maybe connected some of the dots as far as what Akea Beka relates to. It's something that we would literally need to probably do a 6 or 7 hour discussion over, to really analyze the different aspects and go through the book of Enoch. And also where we can see what Kenabosa, and we can see how in the book of Enoch, it speaks of the most odoriferous tree of the garden. The most odoriferous tree of the garden. That was not an ordinary tree, but was a gift from the most high divine intelligence, the Akea Beka, the dark energy of the universe. It's a gift for the saints and the righteous. And my interpretation of that was the most odoriferous. I can only think of one tree that's the most odoriferous tree of the garden. But that being said about what I believe cannabis to be identified as, let us use all of the herbs of the garden for their beneficial healing properties. Let us not abuse them. Let us not misuse them. Let us not irresponsibly and ignorantly misuse these things, but let's use all of them to heal ourselves, not just physically, not just mentally, not just emotionally, and not just spiritually, but completely synergistically purge ourselves of this parasitic, cancerous culture built by white supremacy, built to be destroyed, and is dying, is doing its swan song, death song, Hail Mary attempt at total control over your mind right now, and is failing and is doomed to fail. So don't get weary. And don't get hopeless, and don't feel like there's no hope and no chance. Happiness, the main ingredient said, happiness is just round the bend. So just hold on a little bit longer and arm yourself with the Melchizedek armor that's going to protect you from any weapon that they try to form against you. And above all those things, be aware of the incredible value of Sweet Wormwood. So that being the case, brother, I hope that made something clear.
Yes,
you know?
Sir. Ross AD, let the people know about Wise Choice Radio. We want to end off with that, and how they can tune in to Taste the Consciousness, which is your radio broadcast that comes across that same website. on Wednesday from 6 to 8. Elaborate a little bit more on that.
Okay, thank you, brother, for allowing me to do that. WiseChoiceRadio.com is my streaming 24-hour streaming online reggae radio station, and it's going on 24 hours a day, 365 and a quarter days a year, and it changes every couple of hours. It changes subcategory of reggae. It's not just random the whole time. It's like, early rock steady and ska in the morning, 90s stuff through the afternoon, world reggae, modern reggae from all over the world in the afternoon, roots reggae later in the day, modern roots reggae a little bit later, and then, and into dancehall in the night and dub. And it just has everything. You can see the schedule by going to wisechoiceradio.com. And the first thing you see pretty much is a pink button that says Stream Now Live. That will launch the player that you can listen to 24 hours a day from your phone or from your computer or from your smart TV or whatever it is now that people listen to things through. It's wisechoiceradio.com. And I'm just the curator and custodian of wisechoiceradio.com. And I've been doing a modern roots reggae show, modern conscious roots reggae show for about 13 years now, radio show on different community radio stations around the country. And ever since the lockdown has initiated, I've had, luckily enough, I have my own radio station at my home that's mainly for that. And I would do my live radio show at the actual community radio stations because I like the feel of, community service in a sense. And also it was broadcasting via the World Wide Web from that station. But now that I'm locked down, I do it from Wise Choice Radio, and they syndicate it through that station as well as their website. But you can go to wisechoiceradio.com and you can stream it live from there, or you can go to Simple Radio. There's an app for your smartphone called Simple Radio. That's a free app. You can download it at the App Store. It's free, which is a database for every radio station or online radio station in the world. So you can listen to stuff from Brazil, Europe, Africa, wherever. And Wise Choice Radio is there. And you'll see my little owl with the Adinkra symbol. Mate Mase, what I hear, I keep. Knowledge, wisdom, and prudence. Akan Adinkra symbol is what the owl is sitting on. It's not a set of speakers. Some people say it looked like the owl sitting on speakers. No, it's an African Adinkra symbol of the Mate Mase, the Akan African Adinkra symbol. That means what I hear, I keep. Knowledge, wisdom, and prudence. So, and that's what the owl is there for. It ain't no Illuminati thing. It ain't no secret society, skull and bones, Moloch. And all that. Remember, all of these symbols, all of these animalistic symbols and signals and everything, all of this was African well before the Europeans stole it. Well before the Shriners and the Masons and the Luciferians stole it, manipulated it, diluted it, deteriorated the true intention of it. That's why when you see the Eye of Haru now or the Eye of Ra, everyone say, oh, that's the Illuminati, that's the Illuminati, that's the New World Order. New World Order. It's the strongest amulet of protection of the antiquarian world is the left eye of Haru. Because it sees the devil. It doesn't blink on the devil. It will find the devil in his wickedness, in his high and low places. So we need that strong amulet of protection. We need to be armed with that. We need to have our Eye of Haru open so that we can see lies when they are fed to us and we can find the truth even when it's being hid from us. So wisechoiceradio.com, Roots and Culture Reggae Music. There's over 25,000 reggae tunes on there from yesterday, today, tomorrow. Classic roots reggae, early ska and rocksteady, modern reggae, dancehall, Afro beats. Oh, yeah. UK steppers. I mean, it's all on there and it's growing each and every day. And it's there for you. It's 100% ad-free, meaning no advertisements. You might hear reggae artists come on there and big up the Bambu King and Wise Choice Radio occasionally, but it's 100% ad-free and 100% free for all. It's for you. That's why it's there. That's why the only person it's not free for is me, but that's intentional. I'm paying so that you can have it for free. I'm paying so Africa can have a world of reggae music that never stops for free. I'm paying so that Jamaica can have constant roots and culture reggae music for free if you got the internet or access to the internet. I'm paying so that everyone has a world of reggae music, real reggae music, authentic reggae music. There's a lot of world reggae on there too, but we don't spare and scrimp on the genuine harticle, what I like to call the genuine harticle from Jamaica, also from the pantheon of the diaspora, Black African people, prisoners of war here in the West, whether it's Guyana, whether it's St. Croix, whether it's St. Thomas, whether it's St. Eustatius, whether it's St. Kitts or Trinidad or Tobago, whether it's Brazil, whether it's Chile, whether it's Argentina. You see, you know, there's African reggae on there, European reggae on there. There's everything is on there, and we, it's there for you. It's there for the Baba TV universe and everyone out there who wants to either hear some of their favorite stuff or hear stuff they've never heard before in their life. And it tells you the last 5 songs, the track, the artist, the album, to inform you of what it is that you're listening to. So if you can look at the player, you can see what's being played, not just for the song that's playing, but for the last 5 songs before that, so that you can learn, so we can keep reggae music alive, so we can learn the people that aren't into reggae as it is now, and learn to love it even more. And once again, wisechoiceradio.com, you can find it there. And the Taste of Consciousness is my weekly show that I do every Wednesday, and it's on the West Coast of the United States. It's from 3 to 5, and on the East Coast of the United States, PM. And on the East Coast of the United States, it's 6 to 8 PM. And everyone else is going to have to do the math on it. But Eastern Standard Time, 6 to 8. Pacific Standard Time, it's 3 to 5. And every Wednesday. And that's where I'm at, running my mouth on Wednesdays, trying to fit all of this information in between songs of modern new reggae that I'm trying to stay current and relative with. So, you know, oftentimes that's probably why these projects, these presentations, you know, that me and Baba TV are doing together are becoming so long-winded, because a lot of this is stuff that has been stored up for a long time that I don't get to express at length and in depth on the Taste of Consciousness as I would like to. But I try. You better believe I try. And I try to get it out there. And I try to make sure that the music that's played is correlating with the message and the music, because you may not know this, but me and Baba are partners. We've been partners, DJ partners, for a long time. He is my major influence in becoming a DJ. So, you know, it was the message in the music series that Baba used to do. And then when we became ADD Sound Syndrome, a collaboration of AD and Baba D and the ADD Sound Syndrome of message in the music, trying to sew together the message of all these great intellectual elders of ours, along with the spectrum of reggae music and dancehall that correlate with what they're teaching. So that's what ADD Sound Syndrome was built on, and is today still manifesting through the union between wisechoiceradio.com and Baba TV. And we're going to keep it going, and we're going to keep the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding pouring out the cup until the cup is full and overflowing. And that being the case, we don't want to overflow these people's cup too much, Brother Baba, but hopefully, so Taste of Consciousness Wednesdays, 3 to 5 Pacific Standard Time, 6 to 8 Eastern Standard Time every Wednesday. And you don't have to wait for Wednesday to get good reggae music, because it's there for you night and day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 and a quarter days a year at wisechoiceradio.com. And pretty soon it's going to be on TuneIn and iHeartRadio and iTunes Store. But as of late, they're kind of trying to block me on it right now. They're making it very difficult. So without having to pay even more money just to be allowed on some of those things, I guess the best is go straight to the source, wisechoiceradio.com.
Beautiful, beloved. Well, thank you for giving me your time, giving Baba TV your time, and because I know you're a busy man. You know, you out there farming and tilling the earth and putting the work in.
Right. I'm just a city kid playing farmer, doing my damnedest, trying to keep the food growing and the medicine growing and the the future growing, these future networks that we're going to be talking about soon on Baba TV, talking about the people, the gangsta gardeners and those who are doing the real work and the transitions that all of us in society, if we want a future outside of the grip of Babylon, if we want a future of prosperity, want a future of morality, then we are going to have to conduct ourselves in that way and make the sacrifices that we're going to have to make to be able to produce our own food that we know isn't poison, produce our own medicine that we know isn't poison, produce our own water, not produce our own water, but collect and filter our own water so we know it's not full of fluoride and mercury and lead and chlorine and chloramine and the other 110 different foreign chemical compounds and agents that are found in our water supply. We don't need that. We don't want that. We need clean water and we need clean food and we need clean medicine. And more than all of those things, or the seed to produce all of those things, is a clear heart, mind, and conscience to produce these things for ourselves without expecting a helping hand from Babylon at all. So that being the case. Thank you so much, though, for that, because yeah, man, it's a lot of hard work. Ain't nothing sexy about it. I'll tell you that right now. It's a hard sell. Being a small organic farmer is a hard sell. To say you're going to work harder than you've ever worked in your life from can't see to can't see. And if you sell everything at top dollar, don't lose anything to weather, which never happens. Don't get cheated out of things by retailers, which never happens. If you sell everything at top dollar and have zero shrinkage, you may accumulate. You may make like $20,000 to $30,000 a year, working harder than you've ever worked all year long. There's nothing attractive about that. There's nothing sexy. There's nothing alluring about that. But you know what's alluring? Is the thought that you will be able to survive and stay alive healthy without the aid or overseeing of an oppressive system that seeks to defeat us mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, and punish us for being alive while making us pay for our suffering every single step of the way to the grave. We don't need to do that anymore. We can't do that anymore. And the only way we can wrap our minds around doing these hard labor responsibilities in order to be free of all of that burden is this whole concept of wealth being equated with money. That has to change. I know we need money. I need money too. We all need money right now. But when we can remedy ourselves of our overwhelming want and desire and lust for more money, for accruing more money, and we realize that what really matters is food, clothing, shelter, education, healthcare, and unfettered access to natural resources. That's what matters. That's what's really important. And it's going to be up to us to make those a priority, because the leaders, the dictatorships, the false demonocracies, the communists, the socialists, all the rest of these false pretenders, these hypocrites that are in positions of power over us, none of them are offering us these solutions genuinely. So that being the case, we're going to have to produce it for ourselves. And I want black people in a conscious black society to be passionate about that. I want conscious white people to be passionate about that. I want Native Americans and Indians and Chinese and all the free thinking, intellectually creative people of the world who have a good heart and want to see good for all people, not just their own people, but all people of the planet Earth. I want them to be comfortable with the type of networks that we are going to have to create without a sense of having to lose or compromise your national sovereign identity. That's not what it's about. It's not about, it's okay that you black, just act white when you're around me. No, that's not what it's about. It's about what have your ancestors armed you with? Because that's all we're learning from. That's all these new age white philosophers and spiritualists and permaculture strategists and all these things that are coming out in the modern day that a lot of white people, the young and inspired ones, are really gravitating to. These are antiquarian methods. These are ancient African methods, Native American methods, ancient Indian and Asian methods of agriculture and permaculture and biodynamics. This is all learned from your people. But if this is my worry, and I do want to wrap it up. This is my worry. It's good to have knowledge. It's good to have books and books and know about melanin and know about history and know about the origin and evolution of religion and know about parallel mythologies and know about the African origin of biophysics and electromagnetism and know about this and relish in all of the glory of ancient African culture. It's great to know that. It's great to strip away the illusion and the falsehood that has been put in the minds of all people to keep them in this state where when African people come up with a cheap, affordable, and effective cure for COVID-19, they get poo-pooed by the rest of the Western world because it's African people. And people, whether they want to admit it or not, are so racist due to racism, white supremacy, that they can't even look at African people as providing the solution to something that they weren't even the ones perpetuating and creating. But they came up with the solution right quick in an affordable, effective, and harmless method. And they're being poo-pooed by all the so-called educated people on the planet because we're so subconsciously racist, and institutional racism has wreaked such a havoc over the zeitgeist of our perspective here in the modern world. But this is the thing. If Black people, or anyone for that matter, but we're going to speak with Black people right now. If Black people want to go back to Africa, and the only thing you got to bring is a bunch of baggage from racism, white supremacy, is a bunch of baggage, emotional, mental, spiritual baggage from Willie Lynch syndrome and the self-hating, self-defeating paradigm that plagues the Black community and keeps them stagnant exactly where white oppressors want them to be. If the only thing you have to bring Africa to contribute to go back to Africa is that stuff, then you ain't bringing nothing. You ain't bringing nothing to the table if that's all you got. So once again, and I know that that's not all you got. I know that you have everything. I know that you have everything in the Akashic record and more. I know you have everything that the Akea Beka cultivates into existence because it's all cultivated into existence through you. You're the wellspring. You're the pool of which all of these sciences emanate and come out. So instead of being so excited about talking about the glory of how amazing African civilizations used to be, let's embrace that innovative creativity and positive ingenuity that is innate in you to contribute something to Africa, to bring them up out of the clutches of European colonist settler terrorism and neo-colonialism of China. Because if China's the only one offering them a way into the modern world, and they're not getting it from Africans, and they're not getting it from African Americans or Africans in Canada or Africans from South America, if they ain't getting it from any of them, then they're going to have to just take it from China. Because China's the only one that wants to build it into something. Not for Africans, though, for Chinese. And for everyone that wants to go and pay money to Chinese to go fund in Africa into the adult theme park that they're going to turn the whole continent of Africa into, while they bleed it dry of all of its natural resources to produce more gadgets for us to get addicted to mentally in place of nature. But that being said, it's all in you. It's all from you. Don't let anyone tell you it wasn't from you. If they do, you can send them to me and we'll have a nice long talk. But once again, we got to arm ourselves with what's truly valuable and stop dwelling in the intellectual masturbation, as Reverend Phil Valentine used to say, or still says. I'm sure he said, I'm sure it comes up because there's a whole lot of that going on. I'm guilty of it myself. I'm guilty of it myself. But today's a new day. It's 2020. We don't have time. It's the 11th hour, and we need to turn this wheel around, because the wheel is turning whether we like it or not. The pendulum is swinging whether we like it or not. What we need to do is we need to grasp a hold of the pendulum and swing to where it's going. We can't be the fools desperately trying to pull the pendulum back to where it's leaving from. We're trying to hold the pendulum from moving because we've grown so addicted to the creature comforts and addicted to this senseless ideological amusement of the modern world. We've grown so addicted to our cars and our bling and our all our things that we think equate wealth and is worth notoriety and fame and prestige and respect and adoration. And none of that is real. That's what the white man dresses himself up with to cover up the absence of soul, to cover up the absence of what you have in abundance. You have a whole universe, the whole akebeka of dark energy and creativity from which it all emanates from you, unless, of course, you give it away. Now, why do we love the devil? Because the devil gives us nothing. So that being the case, let's not be those type of people. Let's not fall a victim and become those type of people. You have too much potential. You are too great. Not when we wallow in the muck and the mire of the white man's world, but when we can transcend that, we can shake the dust off our bones and shake the crud off of us. Then we can start continuing the legacy. It's not about glorifying those who were here who were so great, because every time we talk about how great they were, they weep. Talk about how Jesus wept when they said Lazarus was dead. And the reason he wept is because he knew Lazarus wasn't dead. He was just at a dead level. He was living at a dead level. He knew Lazarus was great. He knew Lazarus was a Christ. And when they thought Lazarus was dead because he was living at a dead level, because he couldn't see, because he couldn't speak, because he couldn't hear, the master wept. And that's what our ancestors do. That's what your ancestors do. Each and every time we glory about them and then live like trifling mess. Because they don't want to hear how good they were. They want to see you be greater than them. They want to see you continue the legacy into a new era, into a new eon of greatness and great accomplishments. They want to see you take the damage that the white man and white supremacy has induced across the whole planet in the short time of 130 years. They want to see you take what he's done in 130 years and obliterate it in the next 10, remediate it in the next 10, because all of that science is there. All of that technology is there. And if you are allowed to do it and you have some sort of stimulation and incentive to invest in and do it, then there's nothing that can prevent it from happening. Nothing that can prevent it from happening. So they don't want to hear how great they were. They want to see you manifest how great you are. So that being the case, Baba, I guess we're right at 2 hours for our 30-minute special. And hopefully that doesn't discourage people about learning about Sweet Wormwood, learning about the need to get rid of and abandon fear about COVID-19 or COVID-20 or COVID-22 or any of these other viral infections that are coming down the pipeline. And hopefully they learn that fear is the destroyer of dreams and the stealer of joy. And stress is the #1 cause of all disease, and we need to alleviate it. So hopefully, once again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physician. I'm not a life coach. I'm none of these things. I'm not accredited to tell you that any of this stuff works. But the people who wrote all these studies are, and they've admitted that it works. They're just not broadcasting it on the front page right now. So, do your research, see what they say, see what other doctors say, and do the research for yourself and see what you say. And if you believe that there's some value in it, then each one teach one. Please share with others, especially those family members who are battling breast cancer or lung cancer or pancreatic cancer or all these things that they say there's absolutely no cure for, and bully people and pressure people into thinking that the only thing they can do is bombard themselves with radiation and take toxic chemicals into their physiology to eliminate the cancer. Well, there's a whole lot of stuff that can be done instead. And they know it, and we know it now. So big up yourself. Knowledge is power. And what G.I. Joe said, knowing is half the battle. Well, now you know. So big up yourself. Enough respect. Big up to all my Baba TV family each and every time. All love to you. And yeah, hope to be speaking with you again very soon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, brother, for coming back on here and gracing Baba TV with your knowledge, wisdom, and overstanding, brother. I really appreciate you, and you know you always have a seat on Baba TV. And so we're going to be doing some things from here on out.
Yes.
Look forward, family, to listening to the Bambu King on Baba TV. This Sunday I got Young Pharaoh coming up. Coming up this Sunday at 5 o'clock, family, and I'm just so grateful to him that he would even reach out to Baba TV to lend me some of his time on my. I really appreciate that he knows that, and I definitely look forward to using this live stream from now on. And big shout out to Baba TV family. Shout out to everybody out there. Shout out to the Bambu King. Shout out to Yusuf L. Bay in the chat room. I see you, brother. And we out.